Welcome to the first election in American history, uniquely occurred over the course of 2 years from 1788 to 1789, also on an odd number year. This is the only election ever to be held like this. After the independence in 1776 until 1789, the United States tested the waters to see what worked and what didn't work. The Articles of Confederation gave the states a lot of power, but the national government was way too weak. Washington and others realized that it needed to be a stronger central government. From 1787 to 1789, the Constitution was created, giving the federal government more power and establishing the executive branch and the position of president. Every elector in the Electoral College casted 2 votes for 2 candidates back then. The nominee with the most votes became president, and the nominee with the second most votes became vice president. There was no two-party system, but there were already 2 main political factions. The Federalists, who were led mostly by Alexander Hamilton and also people like John Jay and others. They believed in a strong central government and supported the Constitution, while the Anti-Federalists, led by James Monroe and notable people like John Hancock and more, they opposed the Constitution since they believed the role of a president could lead to a monarchy. Sadly, not many people could vote, and the people that could were mostly white male property owners or tax-paying white males. The man of the hour was George Washington, the former commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Everyone saw him as a uniter and best choice to lead this newborn nation. But the vice president's position was anyone's game. Here's the list of the important nominees. John Adams, Federalist from Massachusetts, and the first United States minister to the United Kingdom and the Netherlands. Most of the nominees knew they were only running to be the second in command, but there was John Jay, Federalist from New York and Secretary of Foreign Affairs, one of the few men who was bold enough to think he could beat Washington himself. Robert Harrison, Federalist from Maryland, former judge and military secretary to Washington during the Revolution. John Rutledge, Federalist from South Carolina, and also governor of that state. John Hancock, another Federalist and governor from Massachusetts. George Clinton, anti-federalist from New York and also governor of that state. And no, he's not related to 42nd President Bill Clinton. Benjamin Lincoln, Federalist from Massachusetts, former first U.S. Secretary of War, not related to President Abraham Lincoln. Lastly, Sam Huntington, Federalist from Connecticut. He was the governor of Connecticut and former President of Congress. And the winner was George Washington. Easily won, with all the electors fully trusting him and voting for the commander-in-chief, and Washington won 69 out of 69 electoral votes in a landslide. For second place, John Adams won with 34 electoral votes and became the first vice president in American history. John Jay got 9 votes, coming in third, but still lost. For the Senate, the Federalists won, winning 13 out of the 20 seats, only 1 seat short of a majority. While for the House, the Federalists won in a landslide, and Federalist Frederick Muhlenberg became the first Speaker of the House. The role of Senate leader did not exist back then. For Washington, during his inauguration in New York, the streets were so filled with people celebrating that he was barely even able to walk through the crowds. These celebrations everywhere lasted for many days, from people cheering in the crowds, to fireworks, to even gun salutes. Washington took his oath of office on Thursday, April 30th, on the balcony of Federal Hall, New York City. And thus, the first election in American history came to an end, but there was still a hard path, full of uncharted waters ahead of the first president. Briefly, I'm gonna thank Mr. Beat and Hughes for inspiring this video. Like and subscribe, stay tuned for the next video.